It's great to finally get the podcast started. This is the first official podcast of the Real Wrestling Community. The podcast will be hosted by myself, known as Weebs on the page, and the Cleveland Brawler, who's here with me as well. We'll be doing 3 podcasts over the weekend. One will be a Raw review, one will be a Smackdown review, and another one will be a WrestleMania review.
What's going on, guys? I'm the Cleveland Brawler. Definitely, we want to start off by saying thank you to all the fans for their contributions, interactions on everybody's posts. Special thank you to those fans who follow us religiously and comment on all of our posts. Shout outs to fans like Sheena, Razel, Saber, some of our biggest fans here on TRWC. Thank you guys so much. Just like WWE says, without you guys, TRWC would not be possible.
And we just want to say thanks as well to everyone who's interacted and asked questions on the Q&A, which we think has been a really big success since we've started it. We're hoping the podcast will be just as successful and you guys like what we do here. But yeah, after we've done the podcast, if like you guys want to drop us some comments and just let us know how we did, and if you've got any suggestions or anything like that that you think that we should include in the future podcast, then just let us know. And we'll take it under consideration, and we'll try and put it in there for next time if you guys want to suggest anything.
Definitely. So, drop some comments after, but right now we're going to get started with a review of the most recent Raw, give you some highlights, the high points, the low points from the show, and basically what me and Weebs thought of it. This week's Raw seemed to be received very well by the community, so we'll go ahead and get started on the opening segment. Bear in mind, we only have 45 minutes or so to do the podcast, so we're going to try and fit in everything that we can.
Yep, so we'll get started on the first bit of Raw. So as I'm sure you guys remember, Shane O'Mac comes out. He opens Raw as he did last week as well. So he's so he's running it for the second week in a row. A lot of people were a bit confused about that because of the whole WrestleMania stipulation, and Undertaker's career was on the line. But Shane is still running Raw apparently due to the fans. So yeah, what did you think about that one?
Well, I think that ultimately, yeah, it does kind of throw the stipulation at WrestleMania out the door and made it kind of pointless to even have it.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I think that it is just part of the story, and if you look back in the history of Vince McMahon, the guy, he's made some very good decisions, but then again, he's made some very questionable decisions. And so I think that ultimately it's showing him being that boss of being like, you know what, I'm not going to let somebody upstage me on my own show, and you know what, I'm going to give you what you want because I don't think you really can run it. But I think ultimately he's going to be proven wrong, and this might lead to a Shane versus Triple H match down the line. But I think that I like Shane running Raw. I'm good with it.
Yeah, and I mean, like last week, he had like a lot of support when he came out, and he kind of was saying goodbye, and all the fans were like, don't go, and they all appreciated obviously what he did in Hell in a Cell when he jumped off the cage and everything. But do you think that was like a last minute decision to let him stay on, or do you think that they had it planned that way, before they did the Hell in a Cell?
I think ultimately that was one of the only ways that you can, and fans might not agree with this, but that you can book The Undertaker still at WrestleMania, because all these rumors, I think, of him retiring now, there's no way that it's his last match. It just can't be.
No.
And whether it's at WrestleMania or whether it's at Survivor Series, whatever, it's not his last match. I truly don't think it is. But I think this is the only way that they could have booked it and still had Shane McMahon run Raw.
Mm-hmm.
And still not, because if Undertaker would have lost, there were a lot of people saying that
it would have been like the end of the streak again, really, if he would have lost, and people would have been like, "Oh my God, it's his last." I didn't realize it was going to be his last match, and it would have been like a big shock.
Right? Is he going to be jobbing now at WrestleMania? Like,
yeah.
So
I mean, like the segment itself, I thought was really good. Kevin Owens comes out and he sort of confronts him and says, you know, I was robbed of my shot last week. I'm
Hmm.
being overlooked. He was in the Fatal 4-Way at the end of Raw, which was a really good match. You know, and he sort of comes out and plays the classic heel and says, you know, they cheated and I should be the one who's getting the title shots.
Right.
But yeah, I thought it was a really good segment. And then
Good
obviously
mic work, good mic work from KO as usual.
yeah. I mean, he's always really good on the microphone. Same as Dean Ambrose and a few other guys as well.
Mhm.
But yeah, he comes out and then they put him in a match with Cesaro. So what did you think of that match?
Um, awesome, awesome start off match. I'm trying to think of what I gave it on my coverage. I want to say like an
Mm.
8 or a 9 out of 10. It was a great match. The opening segment didn't take too long, or at least it felt like it didn't take too long, and they got right really with the action, and it it lasted about 10-15 minutes. It went
Mm.
back and forth, and
It seemed like a lot longer though from when you were watching the match. Like it was really like an intense
right.
match, you know, and you thought, you know, you wanted to know who won really. I mean,
I
uh,
was Even though that match had happened actually not too long before Cesaro got injured. They
yeah,
were doing that at a pay-per-view,
yeah.
and Kevin Owens was beating him, and so it's really nice to see that they're looks like they're showing some faith in Cesaro, and
Yeah, I mean he's been on fire since he's come back. I mean,
oh, definitely.
a lot of people thought when he came into the Fatal 4-Ways, like the mystery guest, that he was gonna be the one to win it because it was like a big surprise. Everyone cheered him. He had that really good spot in the middle of the
You look
match.
you look back at wrestling, and usually the guy who comes in at the last second is generally the guy who's going to go over in the match. Then,
Yeah, like the cat, like the Royal Rumble John Cena type thing. He
right.
comes in
Or
last and
when Jericho came in the championship scramble.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's
Saw
happened
that
a lot of
live.
times.
Saw that live. That was crazy.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, so that was a really good match. I probably agree, like 8.5 out of 10 for me,
Definitely.
something around there. So then you had the segment. Well, everyone was saying last week about Dr. Phil and like, oh, you know, we don't want Dr. Phil on the show. You know, it's another celebrity guest appearance, and we don't like those.
Right.
But then, you know, from what I sort of responded to it, I thought it was pretty good, like what he did in the segment with Charlotte and Ric Flair.
Heck
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, like he doing the woo back and forth with Ric Flair, and Ric Flair looked like he was gonna fall over, to be honest. But yeah, I thought it was a really good segment. I think they used him well, which I was surprised. I thought they wouldn't use him right, but you know, he
Yeah.
he did seem to do quite well.
Uh,
And he had a bit of a pep talk with Charlotte and said, you know, why are you letting your dad ruin the matches for you and you're not making it on your own? And he said
right.
made a thing about standing on her own 2 feet.
Definitely. And I think that comes into just his show himself. I mean, he runs a talk show,
Yeah,
and um, we were even talking about this earlier, playing to the crowd, and whether or not, whether this is WWE or the Dr. Phil show, you still have to play to the crowd, whether it's, screw you, I hate you, or I'm going to, like Oprah, everybody says about Oprah, I'm going to give everybody in the audience a car. Like,
yeah. Well, you've got to play to the crowd, and I think he knows that. So
yeah, exactly.
and and yeah, I thought the segment was pretty decent considering like in the recent weeks I've not really been a big fan of the Charlotte Ric Flair segments, but he seemed to sort of make that a bit better.
Definitely.
Um, So after that, we had Kevin Owens and Shane. That was a backstage segment. He sort of threatened to interfere with the Sami Zayn match, and
Right.
Shane basically said to him, you know, I'm going to throw you out now, which I thought was quite good at the time.
Yeah, I liked how he said it. He was like, you know what? Whatever happens to Sami Zayn tonight is on your hands. And Shane's like, well, Kevin, you kind of screwed up because you just told me your plan.
Yeah,
So get the heck out.
and he's kind of put Sammy over a little bit as well because he was just like, well, you're not going to ruin his career any more than you already have.
Right.
So you know. Kevin Owens being the heel, kicking him out, and obviously that would have got the fans a bit more behind Zayn, thinking, maybe this is his chance.
Right.
Um, so yeah, that was really good, I thought, and reminded me a little bit of the old days when they used to throw Austin out and put him in.
Oh yeah, for sure. Just throw anybody out. I really thought that he was gonna end up coming back in, but he
Yeah,
didn't.
yeah, no, not that time, no, but yeah, I still agree that it was a good even though he didn't come back, it was still a good
It
good
was
segment.
definitely
Yeah.
good to just let them fight.
Yep. After that segment, we had New Day. They came out, and to me, like every time New Day come out, they kind of rate everyone, even like the crowd. They get the crowd involved, and um, I mean, like with New Day as well. Like I was thinking, but like when they started the gimmick, like it was a horrible gimmick. Like it was really bad when they first started the gimmick, and then they were face and they tried to do the face thing, and like Big E was more of a preacher, and then they turned heel, and they just became like they were more creatively, they had more freedom creatively, so they could do a lot more. um and I think New Day have carried, sometimes they've carried the shows on their own, like they've been mediocre shows and New Day have been like a highlight of the show.
Right.
Obviously this show was a lot different, but like New Day again, I just think doing what they always do, which is entertain the crowd and gets everyone involved with the unicorn horns and the chants.
Right. And I think that it was the right decision ultimately to turn these guys face
Yeah,
because they had such a, like you said, they were received not very well when they first showed up. And a lot of people were like, "What the heck?" Like they're clapping in their videos. They're like in a church, and like Big E's like the Reverend, and
yeah, it was
it's
embarrassing.
it was like I don't know what you're doing. But then all of a sudden they started being charismatic, and as I watched the Hall of Fame, looking back at the Freebirds, I see so much of the Freebirds in New Day.
Yeah,
It's but it's not the Freebirds, it's New Day, but they're so influenced the way that they come down to the ring and they're always dancing, they're twerking, they're whatever, they're shaking their butt, they're doing whatever. That's what the Freebirds were all about, having fun,
mm,
doing making people smile, and that's what New Day does, bottom line. And they push a great message for kids, the power of positivity,
yeah.
always being positive and
Yeah,
looking
it's
to
weird because I think they appeal to like the kids, but they appeal to like the adult fans as well. Like there's
exactly.
one of those rare instances where they sort of appeal to everyone. I know that some people don't like the New Day. They think that they're too much, I suppose.
Uh,
But I mean, I think the majority, from what I've seen, like being in the crowd and seeing and listening to the reactions when we're watching it on TV, I think the majority of the crowd are usually behind New Day.
right.
So yeah, that was a good segment, and they announced the tag team tournament, and then Dudley Boys came out, and they were against Lucha Dragons, which I thought was a decent match.
Yeah. A lot of
Uh,
people. Somebody commented on my post and said uh, that Devon forgot how to wrestle. He did kind of botch the 3D the first time a little bit. He
yeah.
like sent Sin Cara into the ropes and then he sent him back and came back and didn't come. He was like, Bubba was like, "What happened?" So they just
Come on,
got.
Devon, you've been doing this a while now.
I know. In that match, I don't know if Kalisto's legitimately injured
Yeah.
or was
No, it
hurt.
wasn't. Yeah, it came out that he was just selling, like literally, he was just selling it. Uh, So yeah, but people they were just like, oh my, he's been out for like 10 minutes on the floor, like he's injured. Um, but yeah, apparently it was just a really good sell by Kalisto, and Kalisto's
There you
fine.
go. And people can say what they want about that, but there's probably not one person in the building or really watching that thought that he wasn't, that he was injured, because I did.
Yeah, yeah, I think most people thought that he was injured
So
in the
props
match.
to props to Kalisto.
Yeah, he did well in that sell. He must have Shawn Michaels must have told him a thing or two, and he was just like, right, I'm gonna play dead.
Exactly. Spoke of
Uh,
doom.
So yeah, and then to me, like it was made a lot better because, as you know, Enzo and Cass, they came and they interrupted.
Right.
So again, they cut a really good promo. It's pretty. I mean, everything that Enzo does, to be honest, is just amazing.
Oh, it's hysterical.
And the bit about Devon and Devon's like, you're here because of us, and and so he's like, well, I'm here because of my parents. How you doing? And everyone just, I think Enzo and Cass, to me, New Day and Enzo and Cass have got to be the two most entertaining group slash tag team in WWE at the moment.
I would agree.
But yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, every
Definitely.
every time they come out, they're just amazing, and same when they came out on SmackDown as well. And I think anytime you could put them against anyone really, but I'm really looking to seeing them have like a promo with New Day, like have a segment where they both like play off each other. I think that'd be really good.
Right. I could just see them going back and forth.
Yeah.
New, stay soft. New, stay soft, and just going back and forth. And
I really
I
want to
could.
know what Enzo says about Bootios as well. I want to know what.
Oh my gosh, he's gonna. Oh my, it's gonna be. It's gonna be the modern day, like. I'm trying to think of like who I could even compare. The New Age Outlaws is who a
Yeah,
lot
New
of
Age Outlaws. Yeah, but I mean
compare.
they didn't really have a team who was as good as them on the microphone really to play off.
Right. And now they got New Day, and whew, it's just they're gonna really wait for that feud, I think.
Yeah, more than likely. I mean, like if Enzo and Cass win the tournament, then they're gonna that feud will happen pretty soon. But I don't know.
Right.
Maybe the Vaudevillains will win it. I don't know
I
really.
I think it's gonna be a toss up between the Vaudevillains um or Enzo and Cass, but I don't know. I feel like they're gonna keep teasing Enzo and Cass so that when they finally do get those tag titles, the pop is just blow the roof off huge.
Yeah, and I think they're better as underdogs as well, rather than
Yeah.
because I think people might get tired of they might think, oh, they don't look legitimate with the titles, and
Right.
so I think they're a lot better as underdogs. And I think there was the same in NXT. They didn't want them to win the titles. They wanted them to stay as underdogs. And it
Right.
and it, it always sort of works from that way. Whether they can have a run with the titles is still yet to be seen, or whether it's right to even for New Day to drop the titles. Uh,
Right.
you know, I
And and that's the thing about Enzo and Cass is that they haven't had the titles yet, and they have gotten over severely.
yeah,
And that's something that a lot of wrestlers cannot do, especially in the WWE when you get to the big leagues. That typically you're given a push to the title, you
yeah.
get a mid belt, or you get the tag belts, whatever, and that's how they're going to build you up, and that's how they're going to see, okay, are these guys really legit?
Mm.
So the fact that Enzo and Cass have done what they have without the titles at all, I can't wait to see what they do with the titles.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I don't know. It's got. I'm looking forward to it anyway with those two.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I thought that was a really good segment when they interrupted but yeah, the next one, which is a bit of a controversial topic. Roman Reigns comes out. They do the
Oh boy.
highlights of WrestleMania, and he comes out, and obviously he's being booed as he walks to the
I'm
ring.
not a bad guy.
Then he cuts the promo, and it's that whole "Come on, guys, I'm not a good guy. I'm not a bad guy. I'm the
Oh,
guy."
unbelievable.
Uh, yeah. So I mean,
That
into
was good.
yeah, in terms of promos, repeating that over and over again every time he comes out because he did it on SmackDown as well. So he did it on Raw, he did it on the other Raw, he did it on SmackDown. So
It's best for business, Vince.
yeah, and then thankfully the League of Nations interrupts him. They say, we're stronger than you, and Roman Reigns is like, well, bring it on, believe that. And they run to the ring, and he starts fighting them all. And then out of nowhere, the Wyatts come in and interrupt them. So what do you think of that interruption?
Well, currently I am wearing my Bray Wyatt shirt. Um, I am a ginormous uh, Bray Wyatt family fan. I think that they're being criminally misused, but unfortunately, Bray Wyatt went down with the right calf injury. We're hoping that that doesn't hinder him off screen for too long. But
Yeah.
I thought that um, just wow. I was like my breath was taken out of me because he was so compelling when he gets in the ring and he has that stare
Hmm.
and he just it blew me away. I was like, I can't even believe this is happening. And he's so the fact that he can work at the pace that he does and maintain the size that he is, that's it's incredible.
Yeah,
It's
kind of like sort of Kevin Owens, same sort of
yeah,
thing.
it's
Yeah.
Samoa Joe, Kevin Owens
Yeah.
type. You know, he works at such a high pace that you can't even believe that he's got the beer belly he's got.
Yeah, and I mean, like guys that size as well. Sometimes they get a lot of stick from certain fans who say, "Well, they're not believable because of the size." But like, if you see them perform in the ring and what they can do, and they can
Yeah,
easily do like hour-long matches, and they can like Brock Lesnar can do 20 minutes, 15 minutes, like 15, 20 minutes
exactly.
at best, and then you've got Bray Wyatt, Kevin Owens, Samoa Joe. Those guys could probably run rings about around Brock Lesnar in an
Yep.
hour match. He'd be exhausted on the mat after half an hour, and they just have to pin him. So.
And that's just basically because Brock Lesnar is more of a a collegiate wrestler. When he gets into the WWE ring, he's suplexing, he's throwing people around. That's what he's doing. Is
Mhm.
it entertaining to watch people flop? Yeah, for sure. It's very entertaining to watch that. But after about ten times we've been taken to Suplex City, it gets boring. And that's why Bray Wyatt, he doesn't do the Sister Abigail 15 times. He doesn't do the senton a bunch of times. You know, he has such a vast move set, and that's why he gets over. And he has that ability to talk on the mic too. So that's
Yeah, and he's probably one of the best mic talkers of his generation, to be honest, Bray
he's
Wyatt.
easily.
Yeah, so I think, but he's still young. He's still 28. So
Right.
like Seth
He's
Rollins,
got,
same.
knock on wood, 10 years
Yeah.
left in
So
his career.
and he's been at four. I think it was, oh no, it's three WrestleManias. I think he's been at. So I mean, I think
That's
eventually he has like to me, he's probably you could still say he's paying his dues, even though he's still allowed a lot of freedom on the microphone. So in that
right.
way, he's actually ahead of a lot of people. But it's just his sort of win-loss ratio. And I've said before that the Wyatts should have been allowed to do like a Ministry of Darkness type thing where they just destroyed everyone and they really
Right.
dominated because like they're just they should have been more of a formidable group. I don't know
But
whether
yeah,
yeah, I mean, like with them possibly turning face, if that's what they want to do with him, I don't know if that would be possible anymore for him to. I mean, you could say the Shield were kind of face, and they were still doing what they did. So possibly, maybe the Wyatts could still dominate. But so yeah, after that, well, during that segment, Shane comes out after they kick the League of Nations out, and then he basically makes the main event, which is Roman and Wyatt versus Sheamus and Del Rio. That was the main event, and then you had Charlotte vs Natalia, and Dr. Phil came out and sort of sat on commentary for a bit,
right.
which was a pretty good match, and
Definitely solid. It had me at the edge of my seat. I'll say that much. I really was pushing for Natty, and I thought she had it, but um,
same old, yeah.
yeah, unfortunately, I don't think I can remember one time that Ric Flair hasn't interfered in a championship match to help her retain it.
Yeah,
And ultimately, they could say whatever they want. He's the dirtiest player in the game, and she's the dirtiest player in the
and
game
she's a
now.
heel, but
Yeah, but you know what? She's not winning.
no.
She's not the one winning. Even if she's using her feet on the ropes, if she's pulling the tights, that's okay because
Yeah,
she's
something different. I mean, rather than just the same old Ric Flair gets on the apron or Ric Flair pulls.
she's winning it. It's not Rick doing it.
Mm,
So I think that ultimately that was I thought Dr. Phil at ringside was a completely missed opportunity not to have him interfere
Yeah,
and
like counter Ric Flair and
be like, I'm like more of like the sensible person, and Natty's always been that like sensible person.
hmm.
So
Yeah. So I mean, that one was okay. And then you had went backstage after the match to AJ and Sammy. So they both sort of touched upon the fact that they wrestled each other before they came to the WWE. AJ Styles, he says, I'm the number one contender, and it's gonna stay that way. And the crowd do the whole ole ole thing.
exactly.
Um, so
The
yeah, that was pretty good. And then
decent segment. It was what it was. It wasn't, it's not going to be a stellar knock out of the park,
yeah, it
you
was
know.
good. I thought it was good enough. I thought.
Right. It's not going to be it's your life.
And
So,
then you had Usos came out to their usual entrance. V's Axel and Heath Slater.
right.
Which, I mean, it's a forgettable match. Well, I thought it was just a bit forgettable, but then obviously Anderson and Gallows interrupts,
Right.
and
That
everyone goes crazy.
I I have like, I'm sitting here and I was sitting on my bed watching Raw, and I saw these two bald figures get to the thing, and I immediately shot up on my bed and threw up. The two Swedes, because they're here, man. I was so happy. One, because they're here, and it's just awesome because it's getting closer and closer to when the Bulletproof Balor Club, whatever, Bullet Club is going to show up in the WWE, and also so people could just shut up about it, because
Mm.
that's all they were talking about was when are they going to show up and when are they going to show up. And
Did you think that was a good time for them to make an appearance? When
definitely, it's. I think that if they're going to continue this, they need to keep interrupting matches in the tag tournament and say, you know what? Until we get put in this tournament, we're not going to let you guys go on with the tournament. I
hmm
mean, they took out the Usos. They took them out. They had some stiff shots. Like,
Yeah, they weren't pulling any punches.
no, that was some New Japan stuff right there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But
Um,
it looked good. I'm not a big fan of the Usos, so I kind of liked it.
yeah, it was kind of like yes, they took out the Usos. I mean,
Finally,
it's kind of mean, but they're just a bit stale for me.
yeah,
They're a good team. I just don't think they've not really progressed. They've been stagnant for the. I know they had that big injury where they were out and everything, but
right,
they came back, and it's not like they did anything new or
right,
they came back and did the same thing and just carried on, and they were just the Usos still. So.
right. And they're so great on like Total Divas.
Yeah,
Like John, or I believe that would be Jay then,
yeah.
is he is hilarious on Total Divas. Like, I crack up at the stuff that he says. And I don't understand why I don't understand why there's so many tag teams in here that I don't like them, basically because why do you have to tell us that they're Samoan? No,
Yeah, I mean that's the whole the connection to
they
the
have to be the
family.
Samoan team. Why can't they just be wrestlers that just happen to be Samoan?
Yeah, I suppose they've got to try and highlight that fact. Like they do it with Roman Reigns a lot, and
Right. And it's like, what the heck?
and he has to do that Samoan drop every match as well, just to
Right, and
just to remind us.
ooh-ah, that's even kind of like Samoan languagey.
Yeah, kind of like the Usos entrance, but
Right.
yeah. So so we'll move on a bit now. I think we've got about 15 minutes left, something like that. So we had the Styles versus Sami Zayn.
Probably the best match of the night, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, like some people said they didn't think it was that good, but I mean, for me, like I was like really like into that match all the way
Oh,
from
for sure.
yeah
He,
from
Sammy hit a blue thunder bomb in that match. That was the best blue thunder bomb I've ever seen done ever. Holy
yeah,
crap.
and he had the little like the thing when he flipped back off the turnbuckle, it looked like he landed on
Yeah.
his neck, and I was just like, oh my God, what just I think he's broke his neck, but he seemed to flip up off his head, and I was just like, oh all right, and he
Yeah.
carried on. So that was
Don't
good.
don't doubt Sammy. He knows what
No,
he's doing.
I mean, like, because of his injuries and that, you always think, oh, is he going to get injured again? Or because if he does, like, it'd just be horrible for him for his career.
Yeah.
But like AJ Styles ended up winning the match. So did you think that was the right decision?
Yes, and people might chew me out for this, but I don't care. Here's why. Because ultimately, had Sami Zayn would have won, you have the other half of the fans saying, well, what happened to Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn? Where's that going to come in?
Yeah.
So ultimately, people are going to complain
So
either
they
way.
needed the feud to continue. So
I want to see that personal feud. I want to see Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn in like a steel cage match
mm,
at SummerSlam or even at the next pay-per-view at Payback. But I don't think that will be a regular no bones about it match,
yeah.
singles match. Kevin Owens will probably get the win via dirty win on the
Mm,
ropes, whatever, cheating. And then that'll lead up to like a series of matches to where it would lead up to like a cage match or even a Hell in a Cell. I think that is a stretch, but that
yeah.
might be good.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think they should
New
definitely
era.
do a series of matches. I think it'd be good for Sami Zayn to get beat a few times first because I don't think like the casual fans are quite sold on him yet, and I don't think
No,
they're quite behind him yet, and he needs to build more momentum as an underdog. Because like I know people have watched him through NXT and they know his story and everything, but a lot of people don't know that, so they're just seeing him for the first time.
right.
And Kevin Owens needs to really like beat the crap out of Sami Zayn. He needs to really just I don't know make it so that the fans are kind of saying, they're saying, oh, we want justice for Sami Zayn, and they get behind him more.
But at the same time, not do it, to the point where it's repetitive and they
Yeah,
start losing the love that they had for Kevin Owens.
yeah, and they're still going to have amazing matches as well. And,
Right.
and, and Kevin Owens will take the heat, so Sami Zayn, it's not like that he'd bury him or anything like that. So Kevin Owens is still going to take the heat it's like if he cheats and people be like, oh, I hate Kevin Owens, but I really want Sami Zayn to win.
Exactly.
And he should, as sometimes they do, he should get the odd win on Raw, and they shouldn't just totally put him on a losing streak. But
Right.
I do think that he should be losing a few matches for now anyway, until they can build him up.
Definitely.
Um, so yeah, after that one, we had Chris Jericho, the highlight reel, and we had Ambrose, who it's actually a really funny segment.
Beautiful segment. Loved it.
Yeah, I mean, like when he gave him the parking ticket and it was the wrong ticket, and he's like, "Oh, can I have that back? I need that." And
Oh,
then
whoops.
he gave him another piece of paper with a hole in the middle. I thought
I mean,
that was really good.
what was that used for?
And Jericho looked at it, and he was just trying to overlook the fact that there was this big hole in the middle of the paper.
Right. And
Uh,
kind of reading it out, and Dean Ambrose just pops like a piece of poster board over the Geritron,
yeah,
and he
his potted
yep, is,
plant, his potted
is
plant
my
as well.
tie on straight?
Oh yeah, and the $750 scarf.
Yep.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me back in WCW, and I wanted Jericho to be like, move 1,000 armbar. It kind of reminded me a bit of that segment. It's kind of like
Yep.
parodying the old WCW days of Chris Jericho, which is funny because I think Dean Ambrose has kind of got as much talent as Jericho did back then. Really, he's quite creative with what he does.
I think you put Dean Ambrose in the Attitude Era, he would have been WCW through and through.
Yeah.
I think he would have totally been a WCW guy.
Oh yeah, I mean like he's very like a lot of people say he's kind of like Brian Pillman,
But
and
not fully Brian Pillman.
yeah,
I mean,
but he's got
Brian
bits
Pillman
bits of
pulled
other
the gun on Stone Cold.
yeah. So no, he's not quite that Brian Pillman, but like he has got some bits of his personality in there, and some people say he's got a bit of Steve Austin. It kind of
Steve
reminds
Austin, yeah,
yeah.
the Mick Foley.
Yeah, Mick Foley, the sort of the hardcore side to him
Right.
because he like from CCW he's ridiculous. He can do a lot of stuff really.
Whew,
So he's not shown that in WWE yet. I mean, but he's capable of it if they let him do it.
definitely.
Which was sort of back to the Ambrose Lesnar match on WrestleMania, but yeah, we'll speak about that one at another time. But
We'll just stuff that one under the rug.
yeah, but yeah,
Yeah.
the next bit out. So he does the dirty deeds on Chris Jericho, and then that's the start of the feud, and then you have got another Goldust and R-Truth segment. So do you think they're working Goldust and R-Truth or?
Oh, definitely. I think that ultimately, I'd love to see them win the tag team titles by accident.
Yeah.
I think that would be hysterical. Like Goldust and R-Truth are arguing, and R-Truth's backing up and backing up and backing up, and he trips over somebody and he falls over, and the ref just 1, 2, 3, and then they're like, "Wait, what? We just won the what?"
Yeah, kind of a bit like when Miz and Mizdow were, they were teaming up and
Right.
they were
And
kind of succeeding, but like sort of by accident.
right, and a lot of people are comparing Goldust and R-Truth to Goldust and Booker T.
Mm.
Whereas I think that R-Truth is he's more like silly. Booker T was very like serious. Like when he would do some of that stuff, and the roles have kind of been reversed
Yeah,
actually.
Goldust is really serious. Yeah.
Right, he's being the more serious one, and I mean, Goldust would do some stuff like there's this one skit where Booker T's getting in bed with this girl, and he shuts the lights off, and then all of a sudden he hears, and he turns on the light, and there's Goldust in the bed with him, and he's got like lingerie on over his rink gear, and it's funny. And he's like, I got all dressed up for nothing. And then just like, oh my gosh, man.
Yeah, Goldust has had some career highlights. He's done some crazy stuff.
Made a post the other day, real quick. I made a post the other day, talking about how he is probably the most underrated wrestler the WWE has ever had.
Yeah.
He really never.
But yeah, so then we're gonna have to skip over this next one. But Apollo Crews, he had a squash match against Adam Rose. He's done really well since and the crowd's got behind him. So really happy for Apollo Crews because the guy can do anything basically.
Yeah.
Then you had sort of Baron Corbin type looking or like highlights of Baron Corbin.
Promotional video.
Yeah, so they're really like pushing Baron Corbin at the moment.
I think that I'm starting to fully get sold on him. Whether his mic works fully there or not, like we were talking about earlier, you put him with somebody like Dolph Ziggler who can work the mic, he'll carry him.
Yeah.
He'll carry him. They'll be fine. And Baron Corbin's great in the ring.
Yeah, and for me, he's doing really well so far.
Great heel. Great heel.
Yeah, he's definitely a really good heel. So then we had the main event, which was Wyatt and Reigns versus Sheamus and Del Rio. What did we think of the match?
I love the beginning, how Bray Wyatt sat on the ropes and he's like, "Yep, you're going out. Nope, I'm starting the match. No, yeah, I'm not letting you start it. I'm starting it."
Yeah,
and
psychology from Bray Wyatt there.
Just basically treating Reigns like a child, and I liked that. He's kind of bringing him back down. He's like, "You're getting a little arrogant, dude.
Yeah.
Bring it back down." And then, of course, Reigns came into the match, and the fans boycott it because it's Reigns, and he didn't do too bad. Ultimately, Reigns is not that bad of a wrestler at all. He really is not. It's the character that is just unbelievable to people. They don't.
I think it's the character and the scripts and the fact that he's still stuck in Shield mode.
Right.
He's booked really. Yeah, he's booked really bad as well. They're trying to get him to this. They get him to do these crazy promos, which they only give to Reigns. They don't give to anyone else because they're pushing Reigns.
Right.
They don't give these crazy scripts to anyone else. They give it to Reigns, and it just ends up hurting Reigns to the point where people are being so turned off by him that they're switching the channel off and saying, "I don't want to watch this," or they're muting the TV.
Right.
And all you can hear is boos half the time anyway.
Definitely. And so he comes into the match. He works a little bit, and surprisingly, Bray gets the hot tag, which Roman usually takes. I was surprised that
they switched it up. Yeah.
Right. And he worked the crowd. He was, pumping them up. He like earlier, he works at such a high pace that the fans, you almost can't keep him heel because heels don't work at that high pace. You know what I mean? They don't do the flips. They don't do, and not that Bray Wyatt's busting out flips, but heels are usually, slower, methodical paced wrestlers, and
he's a really good worker in the ring as well. And he's even though he has the Wyatts with him, like if you put him in a match against anyone, he can put on a really good match.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that he could very easily out wrestle.
Yeah.
So he doesn't get that recognition. I mean, let's think about it. His dad is IRS. Erwin R. Shyster. So he knows the business.
Yeah, and he's grown up with it. I mean, it's funny because Roman Reigns really is, he's sort of second. Well, I don't know. Is he second or is he third generation?
Second or third.
Yeah, but his family are all in the wrestling business, and Bray Wyatt's kind of similar to that, where his family is, he's second generation. But there's a huge difference between Bray Wyatt and Roman Reigns.
Also, that comes with a little bit of, okay, Bray Wyatt knows IRS was never WWE champion. He was never more than like a tag champion. So that means, okay, yeah, I got my foot in the door with my dad being who he is, but I have to work extra hard to make a name for myself and carry this legacy on. Whereas Reigns comes into the ring and I think maybe has a little bit of a chip on his shoulder and says, oh, well, I'm related to The Rock, but not really, but I'm related to, and he kind of thinks that maybe his heritage is going to carry him more than it is, and not in today's wrestling. No.
Yeah, the fans are just way too smart for that to they just won't swallow it. Like if you don't have the skills on the microphone, and if you're not like one of the best in the ring, and the fans can tell right away because with the internet today, it's just far too easy for fans to pinpoint weaknesses in some of the superstars today. But I thought the ending was really good. So you had the spear, Bray Wyatt sort of pinned him and then pointed to the right. And Reigns speared him, and I thought that was like really well executed. I mean, probably quite difficult to do as well, but yeah, it came off and it looked really good. So yeah, I mean, yeah, and also the fact that there was, I don't know, because like Bray's injured now, but there was going to be a double turn. Rumors that there was going to be a double turn. Bray was going to turn face and Reigns was going to turn heel, which to me would have been best for business, but
would have been very compelling.
Yeah, it would have been a good storyline as well with Bray Wyatt turning face.
Because then we would have gotten maybe Bray versus Roman, roles reversed, and for the title.
Yeah.
Because when we saw it before, it was Bray was the heel, Roman's the face, and there was really nothing on the line.
Yeah.
So
I mean, like overall, what would you have rated the show?
I think I believe I gave it a 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10, yeah.
Yeah, 9 out of 10 was it. There were some weak points. There were some parts that it wasn't perfect, but it was darn near perfect. It was very well executed, perfect pace, and that's something they have fixed since this whole rumor of like a creative change has happened, is the pacing of Raw. People say that 3 hours is too much, but I continue to sit here and watch Raw consistently and look at the clock and realize, holy smokes, it's like 10:45. Raw's about to end.
Yeah, especially with that show. Like I thought that show, because there was so many good moments that like the end came around really quickly, and then you're looking at it and you're like, is this the main event like already?
Like darn, I'm ready to keep watching.
Yeah, I mean, there's been shows in the past where I've looked at it and I'm like, damn, this is going to take a long time. But like with that show, it was different, and it really seemed to go quickly because obviously people were enjoying it.
Definitely.
But yeah, so I'd probably rate it the same, like 9 out of 10 for me. That's pretty. I mean, like someone commented on the page as well and said I didn't like it, the Raw, and I was turned off by it. And I was like, well, if you don't like that Raw, then that's pretty much almost as good as it's ever going to get. It's not going to get much better than this week's Raw.
At least for right now.
Yeah. I
And
mean, when the injuries, maybe like when Rollins comes back into it and stuff, but
oh yeah,
but I still
definitely,
think booking wise, that was pretty much as good as it's going to get.
yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
so yeah, but yeah, we'll end it there anyway. So that's around about 45 minutes, which is about all we can do.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just want to thank everyone for listening to the podcast and listen to our review of Raw. Like we said at the start of the podcast, if you want to leave some comments and let us know how we did, or if you think there's anything we can add or anything you want to see next time,
Just let
uh,
us know.